Well, Vanessa Neumann is Juan Guaidó's ambassador in the UK, and pleased to say she joins me now here in the studio. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
There's a few kind of political manoeuvres going on.
Yes.
Just want, first of all, the release of Zambrano. What do you make of that bit of news?
Well, what we're seeing in general is a lot of flailing about of a desperate Maduro regime trying to figure out how they can stay in power. We welcome the release of Edgar Zambrano. He should never have been arrested in the first place. There is no rule of law in Venezuela, and that is one of the things we're trying to get back, along with our democracy and our freedom, is a rule of law. It's completely arbitrary. He was thrown in prison without any process, any lawyers. They didn't even say they had him. Now they've just released him. And then now they're trying to use that to get us back into dialogue. Quite frankly, it's entirely unacceptable.
So back into dialogue, that's because, I mean, Guaidó had said recently that the Oslo-backed talks are dead.
Right.
What are your options now without that?
Well, I mean, we have plenty of, there are plenty of options. They have, you know, if they were to show some good faith, we could, at some point, go back into dialogue. But this cycle's closed. It's closed because the government closed it. The government did not, they would not allow free and fair elections. We've published the terms under which that was the last bit of the talks, which is free and fair elections, and they won't accept that. They've walked away from the talks. So it was really Maduro who closed that option.
But in the meantime, hasn't Guaidó been outmanoeuvred? If Maduro is now talking to some of the opposition, other opposition parties and picking them off, doesn't that weaken your position? No,
absolutely not. Well, there are some people there within that group that are what we call sort of fake opposition. They are, in fact, quite a few of them who had endorsed the election that was condemned in May. And every single one of them is receiving money and has relationship with money laundering of the drug cartel that is the Maduro regime. So they are actually in the payroll of the cartel, and we're supporting them during May. So they are not really a part of the opposition. They were never part of the talks, and it's a show. They are not picking them off because they also said they were going to form a coalition and go into the National Assembly. The National Assembly met today, no sign of the Maduro regime, because they cannot do that. If they join it, then they have to recognize that everything we do is legitimate. They're in a catch-22 situation. We've passed a mutual defense treaty. We're back in, which means not just military option, but sanctions, diplomatic actions. The sanctions are strengthening. They're caught. On that point, I mean, what do you want from the international community now? Because there's talk of potentially more sanctions against Venezuela. Yes. Would that help or hinder your cause? No, actually, it would absolutely help, because the sanctions that are in place now still allow food and medicine. It is a Maduro regime that is blocking food and medicine. Whatever food and medicine gets in, it is from us, from our allies, from patriotic Venezuelans, and we deliver food every weekend to 83 different locations around the country. What will happen now is a strengthening of law enforcement actions. We've seen how they have used food. It is now clearly mapped out to fund themselves, that the starvation of the Venezuelan people is part of the mechanism for social oppression and financing of our oppressors. They will close the net financially, they will close the net diplomatically, and you can see that they are desperate because now they can't even make oil production. Vanessa Neumann, thank you very much indeed for your
thank you very much
coming to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you.